right, we're going to welcome everybody back to the regular town council meeting, Town of Cave Creek, Tuesday, September 24th, 2006. Who am I going to pick on for the pledge? Mr. Grundon, since you're going to be going away for a while, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I just did carefree.
Do what? What, tonight? Okay, well.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, sir. I'm glad the words were fresh in your mind. Public announcements don't exactly have any, council. I bet we got some, don't we? Two.
Jim Pierce.
Mayor, members of council, for the record, Jim Pierce, 61st Street, Carefree Sentinel Rock subdivision. I'd like to make some additional follow-on comments to my August 6th remarks on the 4,000 acres on the west side of town. Beginning with the history. On March 17th, 2008, Town Council approved a development agreement for the 4,000 acres. Town then contacted the City of Phoenix, which replied on October 23rd, 2008, that the city had no comment. On October 20th, 2008, the State Selection Board approved the annexation by a 2-to-1 vote. Article 1.2 term of the town's development agreement specifies several key points. Here's a copy of it. First, the agreement shall terminate 20 years after December 15th, 2008. The agreement shall automatically terminate without the necessity of any notice, agreement, or recording. Third, if the town has not purchased the property, then the state of Arizona may rezone the property for uses other than open space recreation and open space conservation. And finally, if the town has not purchased a property rezoned open space conservation or open space recreation, the state of Arizona may proceed with development. This agreement was regarded by many as the best thing to happen to the town since the Spur Cross purchase in 2000. Some believe because of the initial open space zoning, the land could be bought cheaply. On March 4th, 2009, a newspaper contributor's opinion piece claimed the town's cost would be less than $1 million. Not true. Sonora News on November the 12th, 2008, published a comment by Planning Commissioner Steve Lamore. Quote, "What a wild and uphill battle it's been. The town manager and staff did an incredible job. This is bigger than Spur Cross. This will put us on the map as one of the nicest little towns in America." And then on December 10th, 2008, a news article included, quote, "The annexation which, after 7 years of planning, will secure as a buffer against future encroachment from Phoenix." Yet after almost 10 years, there's been no progress with respect to the 4,000 acres. Topic is barely mentioned in the rejected 83-page general plan. Accordingly, I urge the new town council as soon as possible and not later than the end of 2019 to provide either specific details and a timetable for addressing the 4,000 acres, or announce nothing is going to be done, and after 2028, residents can look forward to having in their neighborhood an anthem-sized master plan community with unknown effects on Cave Creek property values. Thank you.
Carrie Smith.
Good evening. Kerry Smith, 7265 East Continental Mountain Estates Drive in Cave Creek. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Mayor and council, I appreciated receiving in today's water bill a summary of the information about the Cave Creek water system, which came, it was a memo dated August 16th, and had lots of useful information in it. There is, however, one set of information in the memo that I'd like to call attention to and ask that it be modified if this information is sent out in the future. And it deals with the availability of water. It correctly recounts the dedication of 2,606 acre-feet of water to the town. It correctly accounts for the amount of water we're using both in the Cave Creek system and the Desert Hills system, but it fails to account for the commitments that we have already made to existing developments for water. And these commitments are legal, binding, and as long as they're acted upon with respect to the contracts underlying the commitments, should be reflected in any assessment of the water that's available. Otherwise, it's misleading. And it draws the conclusion that we are not in danger of running out of water. I think if we were to include those commitments, we would get a very different picture. That's the first comment. The second comment, it suggests that the town has put in place conservation efforts and an aggressive rate structure to prevent water waste. As you know, I am on the Water Rate Committee. We, for a variety of very good reasons, haven't had the opportunity to finalize the rate study, so actually there have been no new rates put in place for water for many, many years. And so I think that also needs to be corrected because it gives the impression that we've already taken action when we have not. I think it's a very good idea to get information out to the public, but it's also a very good idea to make sure it's accurately portraying our situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we've got? All right. Let's see here. Council requests for future agenda items.
Yes,
Councilwoman
please.
Wright.
Yes, first of all, 2 weeks ago at the meeting, I requested information come by about the tiny homes or houses, and I asked for them to be on the agenda tonight. Would they possibly be on next agenda? Because that might have been too fast.
Mayor, Councilwoman Wright, we've received some copies of similar ordinances where we can look to see what other communities are doing, but we haven't had time to collect that and put something together.
So maybe in 2 weeks or so.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And secondly, I would like to add an agenda item that would amend our 2005 general plan, which is our general plan, to include the land use map that came out of the one that was just defeated, that real clearly shows the Desert Rural 190, 89, 70, and 43. And that's on page 67. So this is what I would like to have be brought forward to look at, to consider amending the 2005 general plan to include.
Let's get back to you, Councilmember Wright, because the plan was rejected, and we've got to figure out how we can amend. Your current plan is 2005, and I think there's a specific procedure to get it amended, but let us get back to how we can do that. I don't think it's simple, given that the...
No, it's not. I've read, no.
No, it's not.
But it would be the
May I?
2005, but
I
it would
know,
just be a
but
matter.
I'm not sure you have the power, so let us get back to you how to do that.
May I ask one thing? Why wasn't there communication between the town manager and Councilwoman Wright in regards to the tiny homes? Why did she have to bring it up?
Mayor, Councilwoman, there was no intention to not put this on the agenda. It just, we pulled
there
the
was no
information together and
communication
had
about
that,
it.
and so we'll communicate better in the future with the future ordinances that we need to do.
Thank you.
All right. Town manager, you wish to speak to us.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to introduce Hal Marin. He's sitting in the back of the room here. Mr. Marin joins us as the town engineer and the public works director. He has done work in the Cave Creek area for many, many years, so he's familiar with the community and the topography. He's done roadway and lot improvements. He's familiar with the grading and drainage in the area. He's done work with the flood control district, and has worked on drainage plans and master plan communities. He's also comes to us with experience in master water and sewer plans and has done work on raw water delivery lines, storage, water treatment, modeling, cap booster stations, et cetera, with other communities, the water master planning and system modeling for a variety of cities in Arizona. So he certainly is well-versed as an engineer in all aspects that we will need his expertise here at the town of Cave Creek. And so I ask you to welcome Mr. Marin. We look forward to working together.
That's a golf clap.
And then I'd like to mention that item number 1 on this agenda, obviously, we have not received the final results from Maricopa County on the election results. And we were notified that they will have the final results in their canvas tomorrow. So we would need to have council schedule this for a special council meeting. It's one item that will, as soon as we have the results, we just update the numbers in the resolution of the number of votes and the general plan, yeses and nos. And once we have that, we attach the canvas from the Maricopa County, and that will be the approval, the item for approval for the council. So it's up to council to set a date and time, and we'll move that item to the special meeting. We can do it as early as Thursday. And you could do it first thing in the morning or the afternoon, whatever's convenient for the council to meet.
In the afternoon.
Do what?
In the afternoon. Make sure everything's accounted for.
Like 4 o'clock?
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock Thursday? Council good with that?
Yes. I'll be unavailable for that, but I'll accept the results.
Well, we need 4 of us. So now we're down to 6. You're good?
I'm good.
We can do it.
I'm good.
They can tomorrow.
Thursday.
Okay. Yes.
All right, we're good, 4 o'clock Thursday special meeting. All right, moving on. Agenda, oh, no, do you have more?
That's it, sir.
That's it? You're sure?
Yes.
I'll let you keep going, I mean. All right, agenda item number 2, council discussion, possible approval of engineering services for Central Arizona Project, CAP, pump stations, evaluation, assessment, and preliminary designs. Oh, hi.
Hello. With council's permission, can I be seated while I do the presentation?
You certainly may, Mr. Mattingly.
I don't think so.
I need to spread my stuff.
Mr. Mayor, if we could do the consent agenda?
Consent agenda.
Oh,
The consent
we
agenda?
missed the consent agenda. I moved because you were talking about number 1. Okay, anybody got, good grief, thank you. All right, anybody any problem on the consent agenda?
Just one little small correction, but
Okay.
I don't want to pull it. It's just on, oh, now I lost it. It's on page 82 out of 151, up on the top, line 597. It says, Councilwoman Wright, I just wanted to bring in the word is this, T-H-I-S, instead of his, H-I-S.
Oh, okay. With that change, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes clearly have it. Okay, Mr. Mattingly, sorry about that. I kind of got sidetracked. And
Mayor, just for the public's information, I had a request to introduce the speakers for the items, and Mr. Mattingly was hired as an engineering consultant to put together this RFP. He's a resident of the community and engineer and retired public works director and utility director who've worked on this project and bringing that forward for staff. So if you would go forward, Mr. Mattingly.
and former WAC member.
And a former WAC member, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Dyrek. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be here this evening to talk to you about another important project for the town of Cave Creek. I'm here to discuss the possible award of a contract to Primatech Engineering, and this is for the evaluation of upgrades to the town's CAP pipeline and pump station. So here's an outline of the presentation. I'll give you some background. I'll give you a description of the pipeline and the pump stations that are in place now, talk about a couple of potential upgrades that could be there. I'll show some examples. I'll talk about the project phases, and then I will also talk about cost and schedule. So by way of background, this is not new information to the council, but I'll go through it for the benefit of all. The Town of Cave Creek Utilities provides service to the Town of Cave Creek. They also provide service to portions of Maricopa County and Desert Hills, directly serve portions of the Town of Carefree, and we also have a wheeling agreement with the Town of Carefree to take bulk water to the town. Again, the council's aware there are two primary water systems, the Town of Cave Creek system, which is dependent upon wells and the CAP water as its supply. It's delivered in a 12-mile pipeline, and that's going to be the subject of this discussion. Desert Hills water system is also supplied by wells and is supplemented by the Town of Cave Creek system. So I'll get into a description of the pipeline. So this illustration is the pipeline. It's aerial map. So what it shows, the yellow line is the 16-inch pipeline that's in place. The green dots, the four bottom green dots, are the pump stations. The top green dot at the top of the exhibit is the treatment plant. The pump station and the pipeline were built 30 years ago. It was built to supply the water treatment plant. It serves CAP water, raw water, untreated water. It's a 16-inch line that starts at the canal down at the bottom of the exhibit here, which is the CAP canal near Deer Valley. The pipeline runs along the west side of Cave Creek Road all the way up to Basin Road, versus where the water treatment plant is. There are 4 pump stations. They have 3 pumps at each station. The first pump down at the CAP is the intake pump that brings the water into the system. And then there are 3 booster stations which move the water 650 feet vertically uphill to the town. The CAP pump station is actually right next to the canal. The other 3 stations are located in vaults below ground. So this is a photograph of the CAP pump station 1, the one at the canal. And you can see it's adjacent to the canal itself. There are 3 pumps. This facility requires upgrading. You can kind of get a sense for the condition. It's an older facility. The pumps are operating well, but the site needs to be cleaned up. Additionally, there's a need for metering to meet the CAWCD standards. CAWCD is the Central Arizona Water Conservation District. They operate the CAP canal. CAP pump stations 2, 3, and 4 are located in vaults, as I indicated earlier. OSHA defines those vaults as being confined space. I'll talk a little bit about that. They have very limited access. The routine maintenance and repair is very difficult because of the confined space and the access. And in the event of an emergency, it can be very challenging to rescue a person from this vault. So these are photographs of the vaults of one of the pump stations. And this is the definition for OSHA confined space: restricted entry or exit, potentially hazardous atmosphere, potential for flooding, potential electrical hazards, and potential for heat stress. As I said, these are photographs of the existing vault. So if you look at the photo to the left, from the floor of the vault to the ceiling of the vault is 8 feet. From the top of that manhole shaft down to the vault is 8 feet. These are 8 feet deep below ground. The vault is 19 feet long and 7 feet wide, a very tight space. When you look at the photo to the right, which shows one of 3 50 horsepower pumps, you can see the very large piping manifolds, and there's associated valves and electrical equipment in there. So we're going to look at alternatives to improve this condition. Here's a couple of examples. Well, before we get that, let me just talk about what we're going to get for benefits. Benefits would be enhanced operator safety, improved system reliability and redundancy, improved access for routine maintenance, inspection, and pump repair and removal, improved energy efficiency, and we'll upgrade to our new SCADA standards. So this is just an illustration of a piping system in a vault. You can see it's much larger than the vault we have. You don't need to be necessarily this large. The key thing I think this illustrates nicely is you can put in a set of stairways so that a person can walk into these vaults and access them for repair. I don't think you need 3 stairways, but at least one would be better than what we have. Another alternative would be to bring the pumps out of the vaults and put them on above ground, so you got the piping and the pumps are all readily accessible, and you don't have that confined space. So the consultant in this case will develop 3 alternatives and explore the pros and cons of each. So here are the phases of the project. So the proposed CAP pump station upgrades completed in 3 phases. The first phase is phase 1, assessment and preliminary design. That includes the evaluation and the assessment of the existing stations. The second would be develop 3 new station alternatives, and then the consultant will develop preliminary designs and cost estimates for the various alternatives. The second phase of the project, we're awarding only phase 1 tonight. The second phase of the project is final design, which is for the selected alternative, we'll do a set of final designs and plan or specifications. They'll revise the cost estimate based on that, and then they will help us with the construction, bidding, and selecting a contractor. Phase 3 is construction. There are 2 parties involved, along with the town on the construction phase, and the engineer's still involved, and we have the contractor involved. The engineer's responsibilities in phase 3 will be to review the proposed equipment for conformance with plans and spec, review the contractor's pay requests and schedule, inspect the completed work, and prepare, when the project's done, record documents. The contractor's services include procuring and installing equipment and then constructing the improvements. So to remind the council of the selection process for engineers, the town issued requests for statements of qualification for engineering services, and the state of Arizona law requires selection to be based, for engineers and consultants, to be based on qualifications. We received 2 submittals. We interviewed both firms, and the review team determined that Primatech Engineers was the most qualified firm.
What's the cost?
So cost and schedule. Primatech's proposal for phase 1, assessment of preliminary design only, is $50,000. The schedule would start later this week in September, and they will be done in November of this year. Phase 2 and phase 3 would be awarded based upon the successful completion of phase 1. So a preliminary schedule for the future phases 2 and 3. Phase 2, final design. If we expand these vaults, we're going to need to get some real estate. We're going to need some more easements. There's very small easements that these are located in right now. So you've got easement acquisition, land acquisition, if you will. That could start as early as January of next year and be completed in 9 months by September of 2019. Then the construction phase would begin, again, this is a contractor and engineer, in November 2019, and take about 12 months to construct and be done in November of 2020. The preliminary cost estimate for construction is $1,165,000. So with that, it is our recommendation that the council approve a proposal for Primatech Engineers for engineering services, phase 1, preliminary design of Town of Cave Creek cap pump stations and upgrades. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mattingly.
Vice Mayor.
I'm just curious, the other firm, why did your committee choose Primatech over the other firm? I know it was based on qualifications, but just elaborate on that just slightly.
Sure. It was pretty clear when the evaluation committee came together, both good quality firms. Wilson Engineering was the name of the other firm. Very good firm. I've worked with them in the past with great success. In fact, I've not worked with Primatech in the past, but I know their reputation. The reason we selected Primatech over Wilson was that it was pretty clear they'd done a lot of homework before they came to the presentation. We had an interview with them. They had done some upfront advanced engineering. They'd probably spent about a week's worth of time analyzing, not just preparing a presentation, but actually analyzing the pump system. And they came to us and they already had some ideas about, the capacity of the pipeline, the capacity of the pumps, etc. they had a lot of enthusiasm. I just didn't see the same level of enthusiasm with the other firm, and that was the reason the committee was unanimous in selecting Primatech.
Second part of the question with Wilson Engineering, did it move far enough into the system, or your questioning or approval process? Did they come up with a number? You have Primatech who breaks down their number of $50,000. Did Wilson go that far or no?
So at this stage, Councilor Silva, Vice Mayor, you cannot ask for pricing.
Right.
So we ask for pricing after we make a selection of the most qualified firm. So we don't have a number from Wilson, nor did we ask.
My last question is, did you or were you able to try and negotiate with Primatech on their $50,000 fee, or was it presented and accepted by the committee?
The fee, when we sent the request for proposals out, request for qualifications out,
Right.
we identified a budget of $50,000.
Oh, okay.
It's a question that you get asked, and in the public sector, we play poker with our hands, the cards face up.
Right.
So it's more difficult for us to negotiate. On the other hand, I heard anecdotally from other firms that expressed interest and ultimately did not submit, that they were concerned that was too little budget to do what they needed to do, and they just weren't comfortable in going there. So I personally believe the $50,000 was a good, fair price. It really kind of gets them into the game, and no, there was no negotiation. It was a number that we budgeted for, and they met that.
That's it. Thank you.
And Councilman Elrod, I saw you had your hand up.
Councilman Silva answered the question.
Okay, I have a question.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And if-
I do have one thing is when you say that you go in with your hands up, we are responsible for every person in this town. And we have to get the most bang for our buck. So when you say that, they're saying that, well, this is what we've heard, it doesn't settle me.
So if I can.
What would settle me is I want to know when I go into Fry's what I'm paying for that tomato. I want to know what they're offering and what we're paying.
Counselor, the scope of services, what we asked for, was detailed in our request for qualifications. Together with that, the company responds with how they will meet what we asked them for. The budgets are the budgets that the council adopts. The council adopts the budgets every year, including the capital improvement budget. So the budget is actually public information. When you do a solicitation of this sort, you identify that budget. The question comes up, it's discoverable, it's there, so we publish that as well. I believe
Okay.
what they're offering is a fair price for the services they're going to provide.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's what I needed to hear.
If I can make a comment to Councilwoman's question, it's been my experience being in the private sector that, per that example at Fry's, you can get a pound of tomatoes, I'm just going to say for $1.49 today. If the government was selling tomatoes, you'd be paying $4.98. That's the difference. And it would take you could walk out of Fry's with your bag full today. The government sector, it might be 30, 60, 90 days later. So that's just the way it is.
We're talking tomato futures here. Mr. Mattingly.
Tomato.
One of the issues that we have, and obviously I'm delving into the scope of work here and the fact that a lot of our maintenance on this is moving those darn quagga mussel shells out of there. Is there some kind of a pre-filter or something that could go into those lines, or is that something they're looking at, or is that just beyond the scope of reality?
Mayor, you're talking about the mussels. The mussels are the clams that we get from the Central Arizona project. They're there. They can create problems with piping systems. What I've heard from staff is that with certain types of pumps, they are subject to clogging, and they have to be maintained more frequently to remove these mussels from those. The pumps that we saw illustrated there in the photographs are more of a mixing type pump. They call them a vertical turbine pump. But what they tend to do, according to staff, is they actually emulsify the clams before they get very large.
We can filter them out at the plant then.
There are systems to filter them in advance. That can be done. Some water treatment plants that I'm familiar with have had some success with that. But for the most part, they take it out, as you indicated, in the treatment process itself.
Okay, good.
And now how many tomatoes would that cost?
All right, let's see here. We have public comment on this. Jane, do we have any? Well, we're back to council. Unless anybody got any more questions, I don't see any.
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
Well, let me read it first.
Sorry.
Where are we?
The middle of page number 2.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's right there.
Right where? Here. Here. Yeah. Motion to approve proposal from Primatech LLC for engineering services for Phase 1 preliminary evaluation, assessment, and design of the Town of Cave Creek CAP pump stations evaluation, upgrading and implementation project for the amount of $50,000.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have it. Vice Mayor, you had the motion. Any comments?
No, I think I asked my questions, everything's been asked and answered, and I'm comfortable with it.
I feel the same way.
Councilman McGuire?
I want to look, Mr. Mattingly, you did an excellent report, thank you, and the way that this is going about professionally, I think is a credit to you and staff. Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Smith. Look this way.
I would like to thank Mr. Mattingly, working with Mr. Kaler and other staff, including the town manager, for undertaking a lot of work this past year to move us into a proactive way of doing business versus an inactive way of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
And I want to say thanks as well. Okay, this is financial, so we need to do a roll call vote on this one.
Councilman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright?
Yes.
Councilwoman Elrod?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva?
Yes?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Clancy?
Yes.
Mayor Bunch?
Yes, by 7-0, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Mattingly.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Moving on to agenda item number 3, council discussion on restoring the annual tradition of the Trailblazer Appreciation Award to recognize an outstanding Cave Creek resident for their meaningful contribution to the preservation of the Cave Creek culture, heritage, native habitat, and other historical and environmental attributes of our unique town. Councilman Elrod and Councilman Wright asked for this. We looked at this, y'all. I thought we were going to do this in a workstation or workshop, but I guess we're going to do it here.
Turn
Y'all prepared to
Go ahead. Okay, I'll be glad to.
Yeah, please.
Yes, the staff has actually done a great deal of work for us already in the back. If you look, it's all lined out what to name the Cave Creek Award, who would be on the committee, what is the mission of the Cave Creek Committee. It is the mission of the Cave Creek Award Committee is to provide recognition of groups and or individuals who help make the town of Cave Creek a great place to live, work, and visit. So they've done a great deal of work, and when you think about the people in this community that we could give this award to, there are many, many number of them. Actually, I saw Bunny and Bill Allen, like I do every Saturday or Sunday, cleaning up the whole way down the Schoolhouse Road for us, in the heat, in the rain, with the rattlesnakes in the bushes. So they're just an example of, and then I think they've been doing it for 30 years, several decades. So this is not, so this is mine and Councilwoman Elrod's intent, to honor the wonderful people in this community. And I'm hoping you would agree that it's a worthy idea.
Parameters, selection committee, those kind of issues, I think are things we probably, have you got some ideas on that as well?
I agree. I think.
Oh, last page.
Yep. May I speak?
Honestly, it doesn't, it invokes the qualities that people should have. However, the staff This is a very difficult decision because there are a lot of great people that live in our community. On my block alone, I can honestly say that every single person contributes. And it would be hard for me to pick and choose. So I would like to have a nomination box put in Town Hall where people nominate people. Where people in our community are recognizing their neighbors and just simply filling out a little form. You know, it doesn't take much, but it means a hell of a lot. So that is my way of doing this.
And may I? Go ahead.
Yes, Councilwoman
Yes,
Wright.
and I agree with you, and there's a form here, and that's how this would be done. It would just be nominating. I would recommend it's once a year. It was started in 1999, and I would recommend that the very same name, the Trailblazer Award, remain with it, just in honor of the people that started this to begin with, and some of the intent was some of the very important people in our town are getting older and older, so we would like to recognize them now for all the work they've done, even the people that were in the incorporating committee. So basically what the staff has outlined here is pretty all-inclusive, other than who would be the members serving, and I think it should be council that takes the nominations and evaluates them after a period of time, and it's done yearly.
I disagree that it should be council. I agree. Because there are at times that I would not agree with that. I think that the majority of the count of people nominated in the nomination box at Town Hall should be the final count, and not that being brought to a council and then the council decide.
But so the council decides from the box, is that what you're saying?
The council presents from the box.
Presents to who? There's a box of, say, 200 applicants, so...
Okay, let's say there's a box of 200 applicants.
Okay.
And 151 applicants are to one family. That's the family that should be recognized, or the person. I don't think that it should come to council and then council decides, well, but you know, this is the way it needs to go, or here it needs to be.
So you're concerned about it being political?
I am very concerned about it being political. Very concerned. Because I have seen, believe me, our family's been here over 80 years and I've seen it. I think that it should be done in a way where almost like the ballot's being done.
Actually, we had, we're at a
There's
point,
a lot of different categories. If we look at the draft for consideration
Yeah.
in the back, anywhere from community, individuals, youth, or group,
right.
pride of ownership, home or
But we
business.
can narrow it down.
Well, I know, but this is what was in here that we're kind of discussing,
Our
and it's
guideline.
multiple groups of individuals in different categories.
Okay, well then, let's have different categories. I mean, then other people are recognized, not just one category.
No, there's, never mind.
It's not just one winner, it's a group of winners.
There is a public comment on this. Do we have any forms on this one? We don't. All right, we're back.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor.
I just have a comment. I think this is, a worthy project, but I would not want to see it turn into a popularity contest. And you might have an individual in town that does an awful lot for the town, which to some degree may go unnoticed because he or she will not or does not have a lot of neighbors and is not feeding
agree.
their ego. So as long as it were fair, but if you live in an area that is more densely populated, you're going to get maybe more people putting in a name, nominating a person who might not be doing as much as that other person. So there has to be a fair way to balance it out, to make it fair for everybody.
Mayor, may I? Because they've spelled that out here. I mean, they have, what are the criteria for selections of the Cave Creek Award recipient? And it spells it out. What are there, 10, 12 different things? The majority of the members of the Council of Cave Creek Committee or group must agree on the selection, and it goes on and on and on and on. So the criteria is in place if we looked at it to start with, but maybe the council needs more time to look at it.
Yeah, let's.
No, well, you know what?
On page 146
Yeah, that's what I was looking at as well.
is
Yes.
but the staff has done a great job of bringing up all types. How does someone get nominated? So it's all spelled out here
So how does someone get nominated?
on page 147.
All right. So submitting a form or online, which kind of is my idea of the box, or online. You know what? We're a small enough community that I don't think that we would run into a problem. But yet, we are responsible to make sure that we don't run into a problem. So,
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Maybe the council needs to sit down and reread the criteria that's been placed before us.
Well, the criteria, I have a problem with criteria. My issue is how are we choosing from the ones that are nominated? I mean, how was that done before? Does anybody know? Was it? Do you know how?
just nominate me every year.
What the makeup of
I'm kidding.
the committee was that actually chose the recipient of the award?
Mayor, the last time they had an award was like the fall of 1998 that I'm aware of. And honestly, I don't know that it came to there was an award made by the mayor at the time, but I don't know what the criteria and the selection process was back then. And if there was an outside committee, I'm sure someone...
Do you know, Evelyn?
Friends of Spurcross, okay, so they had an organization that was doing that.
Well, I don't think that it should be a business.
Right.
Because their businesses are making money. Their gratification comes from the money that they make.
We
Should be a citizen.
Councilman Wright, since this was yours and Councilman Elrod's agenda item, let's give this some thought. Maybe we table this and come back when we got to decide who's going to make the decision.
Okay.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Yeah,
I think we would be glad to.
I think that's a better deal. So if we can have a motion to table that, we can get out of here.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that brings us to the conclusion of this evening's meeting, I do believe. There's only 3 items.
Could we have a formal motion to adjourn, please, based
We
on the
will
new
have that. I'm just
regulations?
making sure I'm not quitting before we're done.
Yeah, I know.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.